What if I told you the man who once curled up with his son on a dirty subway floor would go on to build $1 million company from nothing? Not fiction, not fantasy. This is the story of a man who hit rock bottom, kept digging until he found light. This is the story of Chris Gardner. And if you've ever felt lost, broke, hopeless, this is the message you were meant to hear. Chris Gardner's life didn't start with a silver spoon. It started in a Milwaukee neighborhood filled with more broken dreams than promises. He never knew his real father, and the man who filled that role filled it with fear, not love. A violent alcoholic who made home feel more like a prison. Chris saw things no child should see. His stepfather would beat his mother in front of him and punish him just for existing. There were nights he'd hide in closets, hold his breath, pray to disappear. But even in those early years, Chris had one thing: his mother's belief. She told him every single day, "Son, you can be anything you want to be," even when the world around him screamed the opposite. He believed her. Somewhere deep down, he believed. He never forgot those words, even when life gave him every reason to. As a young man, Chris joined the Navy. He worked as a medic. He had dreams of becoming a doctor, but dreams cost money, and Chris didn't have any. After the military, he found work in medical equipment sales. He believed in what he was selling: bone density scanners. But doctors didn't. Most called it a luxury, not a necessity. He carried that machine across cities, sweated in the sun, knocked on doors, made cold call after cold call, tried to land one sale. Just one. But the rejection didn't stop, and the bills didn't wait. He fell behind, way behind. The kind of behind where eviction isn't a possibility. It's a certainty. Chris started parking illegally just to make meetings. He got ticket after ticket. They stacked up, turned into warrants. And then one day, while rushing to another failed sales call, he was arrested. And in that one moment, everything collapsed. The arrest meant missing an important meeting. It meant losing a sale. It meant no money for rent. And it meant losing his home. His wife had already been at her breaking point. When he got out, she was gone. She left him and their son. Chris didn't even have a place to sleep, let alone raise a child. For weeks, he moved from shelter to shelter. Sometimes they'd sleep in the church basement. Other nights, they rode buses. All night, just to stay warm. And when there was nowhere left to go, Chris would bring his son into a public restroom, lock the door, sit on the floor, and wrap him up in his arms. Try and make the world outside disappear. He cried in silence, afraid of waking the little boy who trusted him, who looked at him like a hero, even when he felt like a failure. But through it all, he kept moving. He kept dressing up, kept showing up. Then came the moment, the turning point. One day, Chris saw a man pull up in a red Ferrari. He looked confident, sharp, successful. Chris asked him, "What do you do?" The man said, "I'm a stockbroker." That was it. Just one word. Stockbroker. And Chris made a decision. If that's what success looks like, that's what I'll become. He started researching, calling firms, learning everything he could about the market, finance, the economy. He landed an interview for an unpaid internship at Dean Witter Reynolds. But life wasn't done testing him. Just before the interview, he got arrested again for those same unpaid tickets. He spent the night in jail. Got out with barely enough time to get to the interview. No suit, no resume, just determination and a paint-stained shirt. They looked at him, confused, but he spoke with passion, clarity, conviction. They gave him a shot. The internship was 6 months, 20 people competing for one job. Most had degrees, connections, a place to sleep. Chris had none of that, but he had something more important: hunger, discipline, and a reason. He made over 200 calls every day, cut out water breaks, skipped lunch. He studied market trends under streetlights, wrote down strategies after putting his son to bed at the shelter. He lived in survival mode, one eye on the stock ticker, the other on his son's safety. He never told his co-workers he was homeless. He never asked for sympathy. He never made excuses. Every day, he ran. To make drop-off, to hit sales targets, to get a spot at the shelter before it filled. There were days he thought about quitting, days his body screamed for rest, days his soul cracked. But he reminded himself of the promise. that silent vow. I will not let my son down. One afternoon, the phone rang. Chris, come to the office. He walked in, heart pounding. He braced for bad news. But they said, Chris, we'd like to offer you a position. He didn't smile. Not at first. He was too shocked. Then it hit him. He made it. He got the job. He walked outside, fell to his knees, and cried harder than he ever had before. Not because he was weak, but because he had survived. He had done the impossible. He had risen from the bottom. Chris Gardner didn't just survive. He soared. He became one of the top brokers at his firm, then started his own, Gardner Rich & Company. He built a multi-million-dollar company, wrote a best-selling book. His story inspired a global audience.
I am not happy anymore. I'm just not happy.
Then go get happy, Linda. Just go get happy.
And eventually became the basis for a Hollywood film. He went from being ignored to being honored, from shelters to stages, and through it all, he never stopped being a father. So why do we tell this story? Because someone listening to this is sleeping on their own floor tonight, feeling like their dream is too far gone, like life is too unfair. But the truth is, your story isn't over. You just haven't turned the page. Chris Gardner was never lucky. He was focused, disciplined, and above all, unbreakable. The pursuit of happiness isn't about comfort. It's about the courage to chase something, even when everything says stop. So now the question is, what are you going to do next?
Don't ever let somebody tell you you can't do something. Not even me. All right?
All right.